All right, West Virginia fans, hectic Sunday. A lot of stuff going on within the last 24 hours. West Virginia continues to stack talent to the 2026 roster. So in tonight's show, we'll talk about the most recent commitments, talk about players that said they're going to come back and return to the team, talk about some of the former Mountaineers and where they're heading, and talk about some targets overall for the West Virginia Mountaineers. Before we do that, if you're a West Virginia fan, please remember to like and subscribe to JerseyEER. We really appreciate all the support. With that being said, let's get started with the show. So let's start off with talking about two key players that announced that they are going to return to the West Virginia Mountaineers next season, and that is Nick Cray and Landon Livingston. Absolutely massive news for West Virginia here. You could assume that Landon Livingston has the inside track for that center position. Both those guys were on my top 10 list of players to retain going into next season. If you wanted two linemen to come back, these were the two that you wanted because they did some really high quality things this year when they were out there. I know as a unit, the offensive line was poor, but I think these guys actually played well. So if you talk about having some camaraderie next year come back, it's nice to have at least two guys that have played meaningful snaps, and Landon Livingston and Cray definitely accomplished that. So I was definitely encouraged to see that they are there. We have a comment here from Baxter Mallory. He said, 5 days left. Let's close strong. Absolutely. For me covering this, it's been pretty wild, with this open free agency, and it is going to close pretty soon where guys can't enter. So at least the guys that we can retain is going to be important. I do think over this next week or so, things may calm down. Just around the nation, I think a lot of the big fish are starting to find spots. But with that being said, this is also a very important week for West Virginia. I think there's still some pieces we need to add, especially on the defensive line and the defensive side of the ball as a whole. But having these two guys announce they're coming back is huge. Same thing with Scotty Fox and Ryan Ward. Those are all nice pieces that we can build off of next year. So I was very excited to see Landon Livingston and Nick Cray announce that they are coming back. Trey Edwards said, need to make a push big time. Defensive player, whether a D-back or a lineman. Yeah, absolutely. I think West Virginia is not done adding. I think that they've had so much positive momentum right now, and they want to close strong. I think we're a few pieces away from really, really being hyped next season and making some real national noise next season if we can just add a few more pieces. So even though it's been a hectic week and it's been very hard to follow, it is exciting, and I hope West Virginia, like you guys are saying, can close strong and add a few more pieces on each side of the ball. All right, guys, let's talk about a few commits that were announced over the last 24 hours. This was announced yesterday. Amare, Bubba, Grayson coming over from Jack State to West Virginia. Super excited about this one. We also had Cam Griffin, who announced he was committing to West Virginia as well. So two Jack State guys on the offensive line in the fold. So they're very familiar, obviously, with Rick Trickett playing for him last year. And Amare, Bubba, Grayson had a nice 82 overall rating on their most recent NCAA video game. So that's really strong. That would be one of the higher rated players for West Virginia on that offensive line. So he comes in at 6'3", 310. He started all 14 games. So valuable experience there. Played the right guard position. First team Conference USA. And he's a guy that has 2 years left. So that's super exciting. And like I said, the fact that he has really strong experience and the fact that he plays right guard is awesome, because we know that right side of the line really struggled last year. So I'm super excited to have Amare, Bubba, Grayson in the fold for West Virginia. Like I said, that familiarity with Rick Trickett in that scheme. And, Cam Cook ran behind this guy for the nation's leading rusher this past season. So that's a good sign too. So this is a nice add for West Virginia, getting Amare, Grayson out of the portal from Jack State in the fold for West Virginia. Let's talk about this next one on the offensive side of the ball again here. Josh Sapp. So I think this is one of the more underrated gets that West Virginia has gotten in the portal. Trey Edwards said Big Bubba. Oh, yeah. Back to the Bubba. Yeah. Josh Sapp, though, 6'2", 235. So not the biggest tight end in the world, but he'll do just fine. 41 career games, 2 starts. As I mentioned, he's a tight end, and has 1 season left to go. Caught 7 balls in 2023 for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. Caught 6 balls for 63 yards in 2024. And then this year, his production went up with 11 catches for 150 yards and averaged 13 yards a catch. This guy is really good at pass blocking as well, so that's nice. So you can use him as a blocker. You can also use him as a pass-catching tight end. And I think this was a major get for West Virginia today because it's a need in that room. If you look at our room, Jacob Barrick is no longer there. Grayson Barnes is no longer there. We really just had, Ryan Ward, Rutherford, New Jersey kid, left in that room with experience. So you had to add an experienced tight end. You do that today with Sapp. Let's get into Sapp's highlights a little bit here at Clemson. So can make a guy miss here and get yards after the catch. This is against Boston College this year for a nice 32-yard gain. Again, goes up and gets it here for a touchdown. That was his freshman season. Can run a little wheel route here and walk into the end zone. Had a lot of good chemistry with Cade Klubnik. This is a great catch against Georgia Tech. Just bounces off a guy. So he has the ability to make these type of catches. So he is a receiving threat too, even though the numbers don't pop off at you. You look at some of the stuff that he's doing here, pretty impressive. So I'm definitely excited to have Josh Sapp in the fold. Kenny Evans said, looks like our O-line can be better. Plus running back Cook ran behind Jack's O-lineman. We got in the portal. Yep, we just mentioned that, right? Added a lot of offensive linemen, 2 Jack State guys. Cam Cook ran behind those guys. Rick Trickett knows what he's doing. I think that room as a whole will be better. And then Trey Edwards said short and quick. Yeah, Josh Sapp, like I said, I think we'll be able to highlight him really nicely in this team, and he will definitely be a guy that contributes for sure, because that room is really light right now when you think about Ryan Ward being the only the guy there. So Eric Flower said Rich Rod 1.0 year 3-8, 8-3. I think Rich Rod 2.0 4-8 to 8-4. Hey, Eric, if we go 8-4 this year, I'll take it. I just want to get above, I want to start playing winning football again. I had a comment yesterday that really bothered me on X. It shouldn't bother me, but yesterday you guys saw that Sincere Bowers committed to UConn. And, I made a comment that just interesting where these guys are landing. And this kid or this person, whoever it was, said that UConn was a better brand than West Virginia and was trying to go back and forth with me, which is not what I really want to do on my Saturday when I'm hanging out with my family, and my kids watching football and hanging out, is arguing with a fan about UConn's brand and is it better than West Virginia. I found it almost super offensive. But that's what people think nationally. Some people are so down on West Virginia that they think an independent like UConn, who's known for women's basketball, is a better brand. So I defended us, but I hope that, Eric, back to your point, an 8-4 win season would definitely start heading things back in the right direction of where we should be more consistently. So I definitely agree. John says, hi, everyone. Hi, John. How are you doing? Kenny Evans said, let's just be ranked again in the top 25. That would be great. Yeah, us and Rutgers, we have the longest streaks in the nation, Power 4, of not being ranked in the AP poll. I think the last time we were ranked was with Will Greer. So it's been a long time, and we're talking about a generation of fans now, younger West Virginia fans that haven't seen West Virginia be ranked. So it definitely needs to get addressed, hopefully this year. I think if we add a few more pieces here, I think a ranking is a possibility this year if we do that. So Trey Edwards said, if we aren't ranked this year, I'll be shocked, Kenny. Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about that on the show. Next thing I want to talk about is Chams Diagne. Definitely botched that name. There's a few here that are really tough to pronounce, so we'll get used to it as we get more introduced to these players. But guys, this guy's 6'4", 207 pounds. So West Virginia last year, there was times where the cornerbacks were in good position, but they just couldn't. They were just mismatched in size, and there was times they couldn't break up passes and things like that. This guy, even though he's coming from a lower level, he can't teach size. He can't teach 6'4", 207. So I'm going to show his film in a second. I'm super excited about this one, actually. I think it's one of the more underrated gets that we have. He also played, besides at Georgia State, he played at Hutchinson Community College, which is solid. JUCO. We've had players commit on this year's team from there. He plays outside cornerback, and he has 1 season left of college ball. You can see his stats this year. Really picked up things this year in 2025. 25 total tackles. Had 1 interception. Actually came against Ole Miss, which is really impressive. Batted down 3 balls. And again, this guy is just a super physical receiver with his size. Let's show you Chams Diagne. So again, coming over from Georgia State. And I think you guys, again, will like this film here, even though he's coming from a smaller school, just because of how physical he plays. And you can't teach size. Like I said, you can't teach 6'4". There's the interception versus Ole Miss, which is definitely super impressive. So if he can pick off SEC caliber teams, he should do just fine in the Big 12. And yeah, just seems like an aggressive corner. And like I said, can play at that outside corner position, which in some years we've struggled, especially with size. I know Rich Rodriguez, one of his goals this year was to get bigger, and he accomplishes that. Really nice hit here, causing a fumble. So going with the theme of what we've seen from the other players, this is going to be a hard-hitting West Virginia team, I think, this year coming up. So super excited to see what this kid can do. I think he has an opportunity in a wide open room. And you know what? You can never have enough depth. You can never have enough depth, as we've learned this year at West Virginia, at multiple positions. It seemed like every position was injured this year. So I'm excited to watch this kid. I think he'll fit right in with what we're trying to do as a culture. So that should be fun. Trey Edwards said, "Kid lays the wood." Yeah, absolutely does. So I'm always a big fan of the hard hitting players, and I'm sure you guys are too. That's part of the reason why we watch the games on Saturdays, right? So this guy will definitely do that. We have a guarantee said we'll be ranked in the top 25 in 2026. I hope you're right, man. I'm feeling the optimist point of view. I really hope so. It would make things change dramatically. I think, especially with the momentum we have right now, if we can prove that we can win on the football field and not just the portal and the high school class that we did this year, I think the donor money would continue to come in. I think more people's eyes would be open to West Virginia, and Rich Rod could really build this thing and get this thing going in the right direction. So finishing in the top 25 this year, or making it at some point in that top 25 ranking, is extremely important in my opinion. So thank you again, guys, for the comments. I really appreciate it. All right, let's talk about this next guy, Jack Cassidy. Guys, speaking, we just talked about the last guy, 6'4" corner. How about a 6'6" kicker for you guys? Pat McAfee tweeted today, "Irish ball bombing lad coming to Morgantown. Let's go. Can't wait to watch you do your thing." So he's 6'6", 230. And this kid has a huge leg, 72 kickoffs this last year, guys, 51 touchbacks. So we mentioned this a few times on the show. We've been frustrated over the last few years with West Virginia kickers not being able to kick the ball out of the end zone. If you look here, he has a really high percentage of touchback rate, which is awesome. So this could be an underrated get for West Virginia. I know people aren't going to be, popping the champagne at home and doing hype videos of kickers, but special teams is definitely important. If you win some special teams, you can steal possession. Obviously, field position matters, and this kid also is a place kicker too. So this is a good get for West Virginia. He has 1 year left, and he's from Northern Ireland. So that's definitely exciting. Want to actually show you a kick that he had last year in a game. Let's see if I have it. I guess I didn't upload this. I'll have to save it for the next one. I have a 53-yard kick that he did. I'll show it on the next episode, and he drills it from like 55 yards. So Jack Cassidy coming to Morgantown over from Western Kentucky. All right, let's talk about some guys now that have been linked to the program. There's a lot of noise right now with different reporters saying that these guys are either visiting, they've been offered, or there's mutual interest between these players and West Virginia. So again, I'm not an insider. I have no idea if this kid's going to commit. I'm just like you guys, looking at Instagram, looking at Twitter, looking at stuff online to see who's linked to West Virginia. And this guy's name came up today that I saw, Kanye Udoh. So Kanye Udoh is 6'1", 220 pounds. He's a New Jersey guy, which I absolutely love. We need more Jersey guys in the West Virginia football program, in my opinion. So he's from St. Augustine Prep, New Jersey, which is South Jersey for those who don't know. He has 1 year remaining. So he started at Army, transferred to Arizona State, and then now is back in the portal. I got to be honest, I don't know how guys transfer out of Army. I thought when you go to Army or Navy or any of the academies that you commit like 4 years, I thought, but things have changed. You see it all the time now with guys in the portal. So if anyone knows how these guys get out of that service and can hit the portal, let me know in the comments. But anyway, this guy has really good stats at Army. You look at his Army stats in 2023, 99 carries for 524 yards, 5.3 yards a carry, and 1 touchdown. But then 2024 is where he really made noise for himself. 179 carries, 1,117 yards, averaged 6 yards a carry, and 10 touchdowns. This guy, yards after contact, he breaks tackles, and he would be a really nice piece for West Virginia if they were able to get this guy in the fold in that piece. So that would be definitely interesting. Before I show his highlights, have another super chat from Kenny Evans. Kenny, thank you so much. Great show, bro. Everyone hit thumbs up and support JerseyEER. Hey, man, I really appreciate it. Appreciate the super chats. Absolutely means a lot to me. Put a lot of hard work into the show, so thank you so much. And thank you for everyone for liking, subscribing the show, and sharing it. It definitely means a lot. So, Kenny, thank you again for that. Let's show his highlights and talk about him, and we'll get some more comments, all right? So this is Kanye Udoh. So you can see here just the ability to turn the corner and score a touchdown for Army. A lot of the highlights today, guys, aren't going to be anything crazy. They're just kind of like the stuff on their IG page and stuff. So we're not going to have a full breakdown, but I figured I'd show a little bit of this to kind of get you guys excited about potential ads that West Virginia is going to get. So like the way that this guy runs hard. This is actually against Lehigh, which is a local team to where I'm from. And yeah, like I said, this guy's a Jersey guy, and this is him at Arizona State last year. So could possibly use him down by the goal line. And would just be a nice 1-2 punch with Cam Cook and Latimer too. You can't forget about him. So and Boswell too. This room's going to be stacked hopefully. But one thing's for sure, you can never add enough running backs, as we know from this past year. Well, I'll never forget last year I had a video that came out and it said stacked running back room, and we had Jalen Knighton, and we had Jaheim White, and we had Ty Edwards, and we had Sincere Bowers. Like, this room is stacked. And then by the, after like week 3, we're having Clay Ash run the ball, and Tyler Jacklich. So the room wasn't as stacked as we thought because of injuries and eligibility issues and things like that. So yeah, that's what's it called anyway. WVU fans, let's go Mountaineers. Absolutely. Trey Edwards said fire. Eric Flower said you need to set up another way to get money sent to so your YouTube doesn't get 33%. Hey man, Eric, I appreciate you. One step at a time, man. I'll take any support that I can get. Right now this is very much a hobby as of right now. I'm hoping to get 1,000 subscribers soon, so I can get ad revenue. That's definitely a goal of mine. So who knows? Maybe in the future, I'll find more ways to monetize this channel better. But right now, I'm just trying to put my head down and get better with the show. So I appreciate you thinking about that. But I'll take anything I can get right now. I definitely appreciate everything that you guys give me, though. I really do. All right, let's look at this guy's NCAA stats. So I'm one of those guys that loves looking at college football stats on the video game and play with these guys because I think they do a good job with the rating system. And this just kind of shows you the type of player that we would have with him. So 84 overall, which would have been second best in West Virginia's team last year for the running back room. 87 speed. Look at the break tackle of 84. Toughness 97. So a lot of our guys, I think, on the team this year are going to have that toughness that's higher. So again, this guy's been linked to West Virginia. I saw some rumors that he might have been on a visit. So not too sure about him, but if he does commit, we'll show his highlights again and talk more about him. And that's Kanye Udoh. Kanye Udoh. So there you go. This next one, Sammy Omosigho. Definitely botched that again. Samuel Omosigho, one of the most highly touted players on the defensive side of the ball in the portal. He is the 3rd ranked linebacker in the entire transfer portal class right now. So he's a 4-star grade, 91 grade, according to On3. He's 6'1", 235. He played for Zach Alley. I think that's one of the most important things here is that those relationships that exists there. So this guy's an 80 overall in the video game, and he has 1 year left. And one of the biggest things I've said on the show, even going back to a few months ago during football season, I feel like we need to get more athletic at linebacker. I think the linebackers did fine last year. They did okay. But how many times did we see just trouble going side to side or in pass coverage or what have you? I just felt like we're really lacking in the athleticism department for linebacker. And this guy would be a huge get for the defense. I think the defense is missing a few impact players to really take it over the top. I really like the kid that we got from Memphis. I like some of the edge rushers we've brought in. I like the dudes that we brought in the secondary, but we definitely need to get better at linebacker, in my opinion. And this guy would definitely fill that need. Again, West Virginia seems to be interested in this guy. Not sure if he's going to commit, but it would be awesome if he did. Here's a little taste of what this guy would bring to the table. So this is Sammy Omosigho, who plays at Oklahoma. And again, you can just see kind of how athletic he is, even from just the short Instagram videos that we're seeing here. So like I said, got to get more athletic in that room. He's the third rated player in the portal. I'm sure everybody is going to want to get their hands on this guy across the nation. But West Virginia, you got to use the connections that you have. So the fact that he played for Zach Alley could help. And there's, practice film of him there. So, like I said, it looks like an athletic linebacker. Played at Oklahoma, so played meaningful snaps at Oklahoma, which is important. I mean, you look at his stat line at Oklahoma, 2023 had 7 total tackles. Then 2024, that year that Zach Alley was there, racked up 40 tackles with a pass deflection and a forced fumble. And then last year had 50 total tackles. So guys played a lot of snaps for Oklahoma. Not an easy place to get on the field. Oklahoma pretty much recruits 4 and 5 stars and plays in the SEC. And they were in the college football playoff this year. So this guy can play and would be a day one starter for West Virginia, obviously. So keep an eye on this one. Not sure where he's going to go, but it'd be awesome if he was a gold and blue Mountaineer. Let's see what else we got here. This one too, Jalen Thompson, another guy that plays defensive line, 6'3", 260 pounds, 82 overall, and NCAA 26. He's ranked as the 18th best defensive lineman in the portal right now, according to On3, and he has 1 year left. You see the stats there, 4.5 career sacks, 1 forced fumble. He has 65 total tackles. So he plays in the Big Ten, which is a top 2 conference, and has gotten some good playing time, and he would be a nice piece to the room. So let's quickly look at Jalen Thompson. Again, all these highlights tonight are just straight off their Instagram. And you're not going to really learn much from them, but it gets you hyped in case we do land these guys. So anytime, I know last year I felt like the fans felt like we didn't add enough power forward talent. So it's nice to see West Virginia taking their shot with guys that have played meaningful snaps in the power four. And it just shows if West Virginia can land someone like this, that things can change for our program and get a different type of guy. Because last year, the team just wasn't talented enough, even with the injuries. Even if they were not injured, it wasn't talented enough to where we want to be. So, Rich Rod's been saying he wants to win Big 12 titles. He wants to compete for the college football playoff. So it would start by getting guys like Omosigho and this guy, Thompson from Michigan State, and getting a Cam Cook like we have, and adding talent like that. So keep an eye on this one. Like I said, I believe he took a visit to West Virginia. Not sure if he plans to commit or what other schools he's going to look at, but there was interest there between West Virginia and this kid from Michigan State. Like I said, he got on the field early at Michigan State too, so that's a good sign. So this is a big week, guys. Just from talking about some of the potential players that we're talking about here tonight. You look at guys like Thompson, Udoh from Army and Arizona State. This kid, there's some potential big fish out there for West Virginia. So if we were able to land 2 or 3 of these guys, man, it would really change. It would really change everything. I know we've had a good portal season, but it would make it even better if we were able to land some of these guys. Another guy we're linked to is Ezekiel Durham Campbell. He announced today on his X page that West Virginia offered. He is currently on a visit to University of Central Florida, so keep an eye on that. I'm not sure what will happen there, but he's 6'5", 241, so another big guy. Not as highly rated as the other guys we've talked about. He's ranked as the 180th edge according to On3. And like I said, he's at UCF right now, so hopefully West Virginia can get in the mix, get him on campus for a visit, and see what happens. All right, let's talk about some of the former players before we get out of here. Before we do that, Kenny Evans said, "I'm glad to see depth, not just one-year players again." Yeah, I think that's a push that the coaching staff has made this year, is to get more players that have 2 to 3 years of eligibility. Obviously, guys that do have 1-year eligibility are going to be extreme talents that can plug and play. So, yeah, keep an eye on who we get and how much years of eligibility they have, because let's face it, doing this 80-year turnaround is exhausting. It's exhausting for the fans. It's exhausting for the coaching staff. And it's hard, when we have 80 new players, it's challenging. So hopefully next year's overhaul might be like, I don't know, 30, 40 players, not 80. cut that down by half and retain a lot of our good players. That'd be nice. Anyway, let's get into some of the news that broke today and yesterday about players leaving. So I kind of jinxed it. I kind of said, yesterday, going back to that UConn comment, what spurred the UConn comment was Sincere Bowers committed to UConn. And I made a comment saying, well, it's definitely interesting that a lot of our players haven't found themselves at Power 4. A lot of our players are leveling down and going either group of 5 or independent. And then after I've said that, every player that is committed pretty much, for the most part, has committed to a Power 4 school. So that's kind of interesting. Let's start with Cam Vaughn going from Jack State to West Virginia to Miami. I personally think this is a good move for him. If I'm being honest, I know some fans have their opinion on X, and some people think that he might be a bench warmer there, or not see as many targets. But I got to think, if you're Cam Vaughn, you're going to a good situation. You're going to a team that has hit right on the quarterback position really well the last few years. You talk about Cam Ward and then Carson Beck this year. They're probably going to hit on that again next year and have a high-quality quarterback come in again. You don't have to be the number one at that school. They have Malachi Toney right off the top of the bat. So you might be like a 3 or 4 there, but it might be a chance to really showcase your talent in the ACC. You stay in a Power 4 conference. You're going to a contender. So this could work out really well for him. Now, it could work out really poor too. There's a chance that he might not be as talented as some other people think, and it could backfire on him. But I think for me, for him, I think it's a good move for him, if I'm being honest, unbiased. Because I know he left in some poor conditions and a poor way, and people aren't very happy with him. But I think, if I'm being honest, I think it's a good move for Cam Vaughn. And it's funny because I've liked Cam Vaughn as a player, and I hyped him up a lot on YouTube Shorts. And those YouTube Shorts came alive again today because all the Miami fans were flooding to the YouTube Shorts I've done about Cam Vaughn, and pretty much like bragging that he's theirs now, and kind of like throwing it in my face. But I truthfully don't care that he's gone. I think he's a talented player, but I also think we brought in a lot of other talented players like Teron Francis and the Schron kid and Epps. So I think he is replaceable. But it was just funny, people kind of go into my YouTube Shorts today to talk about that. What's it called? Here we go. Next, Rodney Gallagher. This happened last night, and I kind of mentioned my 2 cents on this a few days ago when he was visiting. I think this is another good move for Rodney Gallagher too. Gets to stay in the Big 12. I'm a little surprised he went so far from home because he's a Uniontown kid and played local, here. But now he gets a chance to go to a school. He's going to play against West Virginia next year. West Virginia plays against against Arizona, the Wildcats, at home next year. So we'll see Rodney Gallagher next year. Personally, I like when guys don't go to teams we're playing. Like, I was kind of happy to see Cam Vaughn go to Miami today because we don't have to see him on the schedule next year. But best of luck to Rodney Gallagher. I think for the most part, fans will really appreciate him. Always said the right things, always held himself with high class. And you think what he's done for kids too with his organization about losing a parent, because that touched him personally. You can't say enough things about the guy. Sometimes the situation just changes. Rich Rod wasn't his original coach. So he's going to look for a change of scenery and try to do well at Arizona. So best of luck to him. And then Ben Bogle, today announces that he's going to Arkansas. This one surprised me a little bit. I think Ben Bogle is a solid player. He was on my top 10 players to retain this past season. I think he did a lot of solid things at the end of the season for West Virginia. Really picked it up on late when we needed him. But I don't know. Like, do you guys think that Ben Bogle was like an SEC linebacker? I don't know. I just didn't see it. I don't know. Good opportunity for him. But it might be one of these deals where he goes to a school and doesn't play. I know Arkansas is not the best SEC school, but we've seen guys, leave here and go to an SEC school and not play and have it backfire. So not sure what this looks like for him. I was surprised to see him go to Arkansas. I thought he would have went to a different type of program, but that's where he's there. And then this other news broke yesterday. Chris Fillepo leaves West Virginia and gets picked up by Penn State. Another one that I found pretty interesting. Iowa State right now, they may as well call it like the Penn State Cyclones because they're stacking up. So I'm not sure what Penn State's plan is for Chris Fillepo. I know that in years past, Penn State's roster has been extremely talented. I mean, if you look back at the last time we played them, which was 2 years ago, and I was at that game, and that, it was just extremely embarrassing. We had all the hype against Penn State at home, and we got absolutely shoved in a locker pretty early in that game, and it was glaring the talent gap. And they said, after the game, I was listening to three guys before the game, they said, how many guys on the West Virginia roster would start for Penn State? And, it was like Wyatt Milam. There's like, and Trotter, maybe Trotter, because they still had Rojas at the time. So maybe one or two players. And, Fillepo was good. He was on the 2 deep for West Virginia as a freshman. So a little surprised to see him transfer and go to Penn State. But at the same time, this is not really the same Penn State that was when Franklin was there. So they're probably trying to add depth. I know Dwayne Galloway was also linked to Penn State. Not sure what his plans are. So I think for Chris Fillepo, I just think it's an interesting move. I think he's a young player with a lot of promise. He's from Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and from LaSalle. So best of luck to him at Penn State. I just found it interesting. And then Cooper Young goes to UAB. Not much to say there. Wasn't getting much playing time at West Virginia. Levels down and has a chance to do some other things there. And that's all I got. Let's see what we have in the comments. I'm sure we have a bunch. All right, let's actually remove myself. Don't want to do that. All right, let's see what we got. Let's call it Ezekiel. Hey, what's your name? Tony. Yeah, Kadarius. Or yeah, not Kadarius. Tony. That would be. He wouldn't be playing anymore. Kenny Evans. Now we knock off Houston in basketball. That would be awesome. Hey, basketball right now should be feeling themselves a little bit. Speaking of them, since we're on here. First quad one win yesterday over Kansas Jayhawks. That was super exciting. We're 2-1 in the conference now. If West Virginia never blows those games against Clemson and Ohio State, you're probably sitting in a really good spot right now. So let's keep building this thing. We play Houston on Tuesday. It's a measuring stick game, but at least now, Ross Hodge has these guys believing in themselves. And I felt like that Cincinnati game was massive for the team to get a win against a Big 12 team. And now you put yourself in a decent position in the conference to really run this thing. I think KenPom today updated the potential rest of the way for West Virginia. I think they had them either 500 or like a little above 500 winning record in the Big 12. So let's support this basketball team, guys. Let's be patient with Ross Hodge. And let's make a run at this thing. Let's take it game by game and really deep dive into the Big 12 and try to get some wins. So I like that comment. Kenny Evans said any players can be replaced. There is no I in team. I agree, especially with last year's team, Kenny. It's hard to replace guys like Bruce Irvin and Stedman and Tavon and Pat White. We didn't really have those guys last year. Even doing the top 10 videos of retained players, I felt like when I was making it that every single one of these players would be replaceable. So I agree with you, and I'm excited to see what this team can do this year. Kadarius Toney, yeah, we don't want him, that's for sure. Yeah, listen, I'm a New York Giants fan. For those who don't know, so first off, I was very happy to see the Eagles lose today. I'm not an Eagles fan, so sorry if anyone is, but I'm still butthurt about the Saquon Barkley move last year. I live on the border of Pennsylvania and Jersey, so I was happy to see them lose. But yeah, Kadarius Toney, I think he's busy focusing on his rap career. Coop said, "Shout out to the women's team for beating number 11 on the road." Yeah, Coop, that was awesome. I wish I was more into women's basketball. I really do. It's hard for me to watch. I watch them versus anytime they're in the tournament. I watch them. I definitely do. If they're on TV, I'll watch them. But they do deserve a lot of respect. I know some people sometimes, like some people weren't happy. I didn't put them in the top 10 moment for the Greenbrier thing, but I don't follow them. So they had a big win today versus Iowa State. I know their coach is really good, Kellogg, and I know they've had some exciting players, and he's building things the right way. So, yeah, shout out to the women's basketball team. Shout out to the wrestling team this weekend. Had a nice win over Arizona State as well. So, yeah, that's definitely good. Coop said, "Go Ravens." Hey, Coop, listen, I hope John Harbaugh is the next coach of the Giants. Give me your thoughts on Harbaugh possibly being the next coach of the Giants. He said the games don't really come on TV. Yeah, they don't. I know for me, like I'm a huge college wrestling fan. I wrestled in high school. I was a very good wrestler in high school. So I follow the West Virginia wrestling team all the time and watch them on like the Big 12 network and Flow Wrestling. So that's how I watch them. But yeah, the girls team, they do deserve a lot of respect, and so a lot of the other sports, it's too bad other channels don't do more content on those teams. I know people have asked me to do like soccer and things like that. But I think people have to understand that I'm a dude with 2 kids that are 4 and 2 years old. And I have a daughter that's going to be here in June. So I'm going to have 3 kids and I'm a teacher. So it's hard for me to cover all the sports. I just try to cover the ones that I know most about. So Coop said Harbaugh sucks. Well, listen, he was there for 18 years. We'll take him with the Giants. It's been rough for the Giants. I don't know. We ain't offer Kirby Smart. All right. I think that's all I got. It was a fun show. We went for 37 minutes. A lot to talk about, man. Anytime I put a show together, it seems like I'm like, all right, this will be like a 10, 15-minute show. And then as the day goes on and more news breaks, you get a recruit that, you didn't see coming and that commits. It's just nuts. Coop said, ain't helping the Giants. Hey, Coop, listen, it's been rough for my New York Giants the last few years. All right. But I think with the right coach, we have enough pieces. All right. To do some good things with our quarterback and our running back and some of the nucleus on the team. So I think the right coach, the Giants could turn it around. So that's my opinion. We can't kick us down for too long. All right. That's all I got. Unless anyone else has any comments. I appreciate you guys so much. Again, thank you for super chatting tonight. Definitely like and subscribe to the show if you haven't done so yet. If you're new here, spread the word about the show. Share it to other Mountaineer fans so we can really grow this thing. I really appreciate you guys. Have a great work week this week. Go Mountaineers. We'll talk to you guys soon on the JerseyEER Show.